Hey, Juan here. In today's video, I'm going to do a summary and short review of the book, The Leader's Guide by Eric Ries. This book is aimed to leaders who are working in either big or small companies and that they are looking forward to a transformation to the Lean Startup methodology. One of the great things about the book is that Eric actually interviews quite many of those leaders that he has worked with and share their experiences on how this process has worked for them, what has been important, what they have liked about it. So first of all, in the Leader's Guide, Eric Ries talks about the steps to actually implement Lean Startup. These are simple 5 steps that are based on the build, measure, learn approach. So first of all, you have to identify a problem, opportunity, or need that some customers or potential customers have. Second, you have to identify leap of faith assumptions. Leap of faith assumptions are basically going to be the solutions or the mock-ups that you think that you are going to be building. The third step is that you had to create experiments to test those assumptions. The fourth step is that you had to transform those tests results into metrics, learning metrics that you are going to be able to use. And the fifth step is going to tell you to use those metrics to actually learn and make a decision if you have to continue with the path that you're taking or you had to pivot into a new direction. This is in a nutshell how you can implement the build, measure, learn methodology. But now let's go into my summary and the key takeouts that I had from this book. So the first of all is that don't be afraid of failing. What happens most of the time in many organizations is that they don't want to necessarily include customers in early stages of the project because, of course, the product at that point is not ready. And the reaction of the customers might be a pushback towards the product because they might understand that this is how the product is going to work. And this happens more typically in companies that are more traditional in the ways of working. But one of the things that you have to do is that it is true that not all the customers that you have out there are going to be maybe the best people to include and to bring in to test those new ideas. You have to identify those customers that you can bring in those early stages and understand what is the process, explain and also what is the goal, that this is not how the product is going to look. The product is going to look much better. It's going to work much better, but you want to bring those people with you in that journey of building the product, the solution for those problems they have, and they are going to be able to affect it. Definitely, you're going to be able to find people that will be willing to work with you. It always works. It's not going to be for everybody. That's also true. But you have to identify those customers. Then you're going to be most likely much more successful in the products that you implement. Of course, you have to make sure that you take into account concerns like security risks, potential data protection risks, and others. So people are understanding that you are going to pay attention to those ones from the beginning and that those are not going to be a potential problem in the development of that product together with them, especially in very sensitive industries. The next one is that you had to prove all the assumptions. And many of us have many assumptions and we hear about problems that customers have or solutions that the customers are talking that we should be implementing our products. But many times we don't do proper validation or proofing of those assumptions. And this doesn't mean that you don't trust your customers. This means that as Eric Ries talks, you had to ask why. I think it's 5 times to make sure that you get to the root cause of the problem. You want to dig in so you are able to get the answers to why are they trying to do something. It's very natural for us as humans to ask for solutions that we want to see implemented in the products that we like. But then it's your responsibility as a person as a leader, as a product person that is trying to develop that product, is that you have to understand the reason why. Because I might ask for a specific solution, somebody else might ask for something slightly different, but maybe the root cause and the problem that we are both trying to tackle is the same. Then it's your job to actually design those products. As a product manager, startup founder, whatnot, you had to be the one that is designing the product and understanding how we are going to build a solution that actually tackles that problem. The next one is simplify. And this is a basic one. Many products out there get very complicated by adding a ton of options. I'm pretty sure that anybody that has worked with products has done this mistake at some point or another. And it's fine. It's good. We had to learn from those mistakes. That's the most important thing. Move on and adapt. And change directions. In this case, simplifying, what he means is that you had to build very simple MVPs to validate your assumptions. So you don't want to get overly complicated when you're building MVPs, and you don't want them to be too complex. Sometimes you just want to make sure that, hey, I have an idea, and I think that I have found this problem, and I think that this could be the solution. If I just put a website out there and let people sign up, I can see how many times people clicking, even if there is no product, even if they cannot purchase anything. It's just they may go to a waiting list, but I can see if there is interest in this value proposition that my potential product could have. That is a very simple way of validating an assumption. And this is what the book is promoting when talking about simplifying. The next one that I think is super interesting and very, very important, and probably one of the most commonly overlooked things, is that the success of your products is depending on the success of your teams. And he is promoting self-organizing teams. Highly bureaucratic, highly hierarchical companies don't tend to be very good and don't tend to be very flexible and tend to potentially fail at developing those products and changing directions. Instead, if you are promoting self-organizing teams that can take responsibility, that can take that new idea or the potential product, that leap of faith assumption, and start validating it. It might be a very small team in the beginning that grows over time. Then you are going to be much more able to actually develop a successful solution, because this team is going to be able to work with the customers, is going to be able to organize their own job. And this doesn't mean that they can do whatever they want. Of course, there might be restrictions towards, for example, what is the direction of the company. If a company that I have created is creating EV products, so electric vehicles, I probably don't want them to use diesel engines or anything like that, because our vision is to create electric vehicles for whatever reason. It might be environmentally, it might be whatnot, but then that's my vision. Then of course there's restrictions always in the direction that you have in the company. And this is probably one of the most difficult things, is that promoting these cross-functional teams, helping them to develop, helping them to actually be able to take ownership and drive those projects, is a very challenging change in the culture of many companies or established companies. And this is probably going to be one of the most difficult transformations that you have to do. It's very important, of course, to find a problem. It's very important to find a solution. But the key aspect, from my opinion, to actually do all this work lies in these cross-functional teams, in these self-organizing teams, because they're going to be the ones that are able to deliver the job. And by self-organizing teams and cross-functional teams means that you have people that can take care of all the different responsibilities in the business of having a product. There might be software engineers, there might be product designers, product managers, customer success, sales, marketing, support, so on. The advantage of these teams is that they are going to be able to do decisions on their own without having to always go through very heavy review processes that is going to slow down the discovery of the potential solution and product that you need to build. Another key takeout for me is the innovation accounting that Eric Ries is promoting. One of the problems, and I have faced this one, is when you set up budgets or companies set up budgets for specific products or specific developments, and at some point, for whatever reason, sometimes it's just the stock market not going in the direction that they want. Many companies are very tied to the quarterly results that they have in the stock market, and then they're going to start cutting budgets because the results are not there. And this can be really, of course, frustrating for those teams that are trying to build those products. And it's not just about being frustrating, which is bad enough for the motivation of the teams. But then again, what happens is that teams are not going to be able to develop. If you start cutting like 20% of the budget or 30 or 50% of the budget, what you wanted to do, suddenly you have much less allocation to be able to do that job. So either you come with a not optimal or suboptimal job, or actually you are not even going to be able to deliver that product. So what he proposes here is that companies should take more the approach of VCs. VCs, what they do is that they just kind of give a lump sum of money, of course, oversimplifying the whole process. And basically what they're doing is that they're funding a startup to, and by VCs, I mean venture capitalists that are the ones that fund the startups. Typically what they're going to give you is a lump sum of money. And then, of course, it's not going to come usually in one go. That's a different story, but let's simplify the whole process. You get a lump sum of money. You might get, I don't know, €500,000 or dollars. And this is the money allocation that you have for your project. And you have to then have milestones when you're reviewing how those metrics are actually helping you, validating the assumptions that you have. This is how you're showing progress. This is how you're showing that you are getting closer to what you're thinking that the traction or the growth of this product should be. Then what he proposes is that, hey, for whatever reason, there has to be cuts and there are several projects for different products ongoing. You look at the learnings, you look at the metrics, you look at the ones that are growing in a good way and which ones might not be growing. And then potentially you have to cut completely those projects that are not advancing. And then you continue with those ones that you are seeing more traction, where you're seeing more stickiness in the product. But I think that this is a great approach, and I think that this is something that especially established companies should think about, because it is very difficult to actually develop products and then you think that you have some resources or some people coming and helping you, and then suddenly you don't have that possibility. That, I think, is a very great approach, and I think that it could work in the way that if cuts need to happen, they don't happen across the boards and across all the projects, but they happen horizontally. So they take maybe out those projects that potentially are not being able to perform, and those people, of course, should be moved then into different projects. I'm not saying that it should be fired. Another key takeout that I have from this book is, as probably happens in most of Eric Ries' books, is that you have to iterate and bring value to your customers in every step of the process. Basically, iterating by building, measuring, or learning, and by building by being just build some simple MVPs to test your assumptions. Again, those steps that he mentioned in the beginning. Checking the analytics, the results, the measurements that you see, and then learning from them, and then take action. Do you have to change direction or can you stay course? And basically iterating means that you're working with those customers to get closer and closer to solve those needs that they have by building the solutions that are going to help them achieve success and delay them when they are using them. And this is done with a process of iteration and working together with the customers and understanding better if the problems that you are assuming are correct, if the solutions that you are building are correct, if they are actually using them, and if they are not, how to change direction. Now a little bit of my thoughts on the book. I think that the book is great for anybody, of course, that wants to do a transformation within their company. I think that this is really key. I think there are many companies that, whether they know it or not, if they don't change, they're going to probably slowly but surely come to an end in one way or another, or kind of fade away, because they're going to stop being relevant. And that's very important and very critical nowadays. And I think that that's something that companies and people don't understand. You cannot just stay comfortable doing always the same thing because we know what we had to do. We know how to do it. And we don't need to ask from anybody, no customers, not other teams, no nobody. So that's something that companies had to understand, that they had to change and they had to be able to adapt and to learn and to even be proven wrong every now and then, because we don't have all the correct assumptions. Another thing that I think that is very important from this book and that I really like a lot is that he actually interviews people and leaders that have been doing or implementing these changes towards a lean startup that Eric Ries promotes. Eric Ries obviously has his own consulting business and he works with some big companies out there to do this transformation. And I think this is great and a great example of helping you by sharing those journeys of those entrepreneurs that have gone through them. And for me, one of the really important things that he's talking about here is that how do you identify who are the people that you had to talk to? Not every single senior leader that you have in the organization is going to be a leader that is going to be able to adopt a transformation or implement a transformation into a new way of working like the Lean Startup. That's not going to happen. Not everybody is kind of fitted for that kind of role. So identifying those people that want to change, identifying those people that understand that either the company changes or is going to be in trouble, that's going to be very important. That's going to be key for your success. And if you didn't know, I also am able to do coaching sessions and work with me in certain projects as a consultant. So if you want, go check out the links in the description down below. So what do I think about the book? Honestly, I cannot say anything wrong or bad about the book. I really like it. I really like the approach of Eric Ries. And I had to say one thing. Part of my kind of thoughts about this one. I have been seeing, especially in Twitter, not a lot, but several times push up against MVPs and the concept of MVPs that you cannot build just features and throw them to customers. And I think that that's completely my misunderstanding what MVPs are. MVPs are not always supposed to be a full-fledged product. What they're trying to do is test assumptions together with customers and actually get the feedback of those customers. This doesn't mean that all the MVPs had to be thrown out to all your potential customers all the time. It means that sometimes you will just have certain users that actually will give you the feedback, that will test those assumptions. Sometimes you will give it to broader audiences. And people can be against this quite much, but A/B testing in practice is MVP. And yeah, I think that there's not really a very big rationale on this pushback against MVPs because MVPs have many shapes or forms and they are made for being used in different parts of the process of validating your assumptions. So if you're interested, just go check out this book because I think it's awesome, especially if you are a leader or a product leader or maybe a startup CEO, a startup founder that you want to check out how to change some processes and how maybe if you think that your company is maybe a bit stiff, that is not moving as quick as it should, this is a great book for you to take a look. I will leave the link to find the book in the description down below. If you're interested in learning more about how to use MVPs and when should you use them, go check out this video. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.